Staying with that story, Hani's wife, Limpho, has described yesterday's ruling by the Constitutional Court as diabolical. These were her comments shortly after that ruling was handed down. Ms. Hani, good evening. Thank you so much for coming into studio. We also saw the visuals of just how it's really not angry, how outraged you were following this ruling yesterday. You've had about 24 hours to reflect on the events. How are you feeling tonight?
I wouldn't say I'm feeling much better, but it's better than how I felt yesterday. Yesterday, let me start by saying, Kathy, I have walked this road, and anybody who has not lost a loved one the way my husband was murdered will never understand. So I've had people who were saying whatever they were saying, but I want to say to them, it's about me. It's not about anybody. It's about me. It's about the Hani family. It's not about my children. Their opinions, they can keep them to themselves because they have not experienced what I have experienced. I know I'm one of the privileged South Africans in the sense that the man who murdered my husband was arrested. But there are many women out there who up to today don't know who killed their partners. In that respect, I'm lucky. However, going back to yesterday, what upset me most was it was like I was the one who was in court, you know, and Walus was treated by Judge Zondo as a victim. And it was over an hour he was going on and on and on and on and on. But what I found sad, in everything that he said, at no time did Justice Zondo refer to my pain, to the broader Hani family pain, and my children's pain. And I want to make an assumption that all those men and women who are sitting there have got families. But there was something about them. I looked at their faces that were cold. You know, I've had people saying something leaves them cold. All of them, they were extremely cold. And I thought, oh, fine, they're doing their job. But I want to say there's something that taught me. I learned something yesterday. You know, we have people deployed in different positions. Now, not everybody would have been in the struggle. Okay. There are people who remained at home. They did their own contribution. There are those who were in Robben Island, those who were in camps. But there's something that I picked up. People who, during the struggle, were studying, and they were never interested in the struggle. Now they've been given these positions on a platter, literally, by the sacrifices of South Africans. As a result, they have no appreciation of the suffering that this nation has gone through, especially the black people, our Indian people, and the colored people. So I would appeal to whoever deploys these people that when they have interviews, they should check if they've got hearts. What I experienced yesterday, it reminded me like I was sitting in front of fair food. Seriously. There was a subtle hostility with all of them. Now, what was interesting, Judge Zondo says, we all agreed on this judgment, and I wrote it. Mark that one. I wrote it. But as he was reading, whoever was watching, you could tell the man was struggling to read. How do you write something and you struggle to read what you wrote. That was my observation. Maybe he was, I don't know, whatever.
Is it fair for you to say that, and these are the highest judges of this country at the Constitutional Court, is it fair for you to say that they are in those positions that have been handed to them on a platter when all of us as South Africans see the process that they all have to undergo to be able to even be nominated to those positions?
I don't want to talk about fairness. Here I'm saying my views. All I'm saying is whoever interviews them, they should choose people who are not heartless. For instance, I was never warned, you know, it's just that I'm strong. When he says, Walus, he says, I'll give the minister instructions that within 11 days the man should have gone. If I was a weak person, I don't know how the law works, I would have fainted. And I thank my God that I didn't faint. And talking about fairness, all I'm asking is, we have gone through the most painful period. I don't say they should love me, they should favor me. They've got their law books, they're doing their work. But I've got a problem with hostility, subtle hostility. That's my problem.
Is it subtle hostility, or actually before I get to that, have you had an opportunity to either read the judgment or even the summary of the judgment?
I haven't read it. I was sitting in court and I was concentrating. Yeah.
No, I'm just asking, post yesterday, you know, has that moment arisen at all?
I'll do it at my own time.
All right.
Yeah.
So when one reads the court judgment, it, number one, outlines the case that was brought forth by Janusz Waluś and around why it is that he feels that his rights, his constitutional rights, are being trampled on because he is effectively now made to be a perpetual prisoner, which is not in line with the country's constitution. It acknowledges the submissions that were made by yourself and the SACP as interested parties in the matter, and the argument that you make around how you believe this case is exceptional simply because of what was happening in South Africa at the time, and the fact that he, by assassinating your husband, effectively sought to shake the core of what was this foundation for a democratic South Africa. Despite that acknowledgement, it finds that that consideration does not outweigh the Constitution, that there must be the idea of equality before the law for everybody.
I agree with you, Kathy. You are 100% correct. But I'll give you an example. We woke up one day, former President Zuma was sentenced by the same court for 15 months without a hearing. Is that democracy? Is that constitutional? I want you to answer me.
Well, it was a ruling out of the Constitutional Court.
I don't have a problem.
We have to say that it's constitutional.
I don't have a problem. But my concern is, do you sentence somebody without hearing his side of the story? Is that what the South African Constitution says? Is it fair? If we talk about fairness, let's cover everything. Let's not be selective. It happened, we are all there, when Mr. Zuma was sentenced to 15 months without a hearing.
So then what are your views of the Constitutional Court then?
I don't want to talk about the Constitutional Court. I'm not part of the Constitutional Court, but I think there are lots of things which, in my view, have to be changed.
Such as?
Such as the laws that are being used are apartheid laws. You know, they're old laws. I don't know why Parliament has not looked at them. But I think it's high time we did. And also I'll tell you, Judge Zondo did not refer to TRC. He didn't. Well, I guess maybe there were too many things he had to cover, and he didn't have time to cover the TRC hearing, where Walus was hostile, literally hostile. Okay, Walus is out. That's okay. Life moves on. But all I'm appealing, you know, Lindy will raise this thing about judges. And I must say I'm one of the people who felt, no, Comrade Lindy, you can't say that about judges. But let's say judges are human beings. Now, what I've noticed after yesterday, for the first time, we have put them on some pedestal that they're not human, they are perfect. As a result, they also behave the same way, that they're above everything else. While I appreciate the fact, can I finish, please?
Sure.
While I appreciate the fact that according to South African Constitution, that's the last bus stop, I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with the Constitution. But if you can look at most things, the people who are suffering are mostly black people. And I believe the work of the Constitutional Court is to assist this country to move forward, as Comrade Pule said, you know, without all these tensions based on color. That's how I understand their role should be. That's my view, anyway.
I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm also bearing in mind the fact that in 2015, we had Eugene de Kock, who was released on parole. And during the Zondo Commission of Inquiry, it would then come to light that he was not only receiving protection, he was living in a state house, if I can put it that way, but was also receiving money that was effectively being sponsored by the state, was coming out of the state coffers. And I'm thinking about the victims of the atrocities he committed, because we all know what the history said around him as well. And when we think about the kind of justice system that we have chosen as a country, we've opted to go for a more restorative justice than simply a retributive justice. Are you saying that that needs to change? That there shouldn't be the option where somebody who has committed crimes must be given the opportunity to not be behind bars?
Okay, let me take you back to the first court case. That time it was during apartheid times. When I went to court, Debbie Lewis and Walus were sentenced to death. Okay. Now the ANC comes into power and they abolished the death penalty. They were sentenced to life imprisonment. Okay. Now, my personal view is the magistrate or judges, whoever they are, they should be specific when they sentence somebody. That I'm giving you life sentence without parole. They have failed to do that. As a result, people are being killed in South Africa. Police, everybody's being killed. You know, this crime in South Africa has no color. Everybody's getting killed. And the killers know that after X number of years, I'll get parole. So I think it is the responsibility of the justice system when they sentence these people to say life without parole. I think if they can just work on that one, then I'm sure we'll be going somewhere. Because, you know, what is happening out there, people are being killed like flies. You know, if you have doom flies, you know, in your house. Because they know they will never save life. They will never save 20 years or whatever, because they're entitled to the parole. So I think that might assist.
So then, given your acknowledgement of where the law is right now, that prisoners are entitled to parole, do you feel that what the Constitutional Court did was wrong, or was it simply acting within the parameters of the law as it exists currently?
They were doing their job. I don't have a problem. They were doing their job and they paid very well for it. Yeah, that's my comment.
Have you and your family had a conversation about the possibility, I suppose even before yesterday, now it's no longer a possibility, it's a reality of Janusz Waluś being released?
They can release him. They've decided already. And I'm told it's the highest court in the land. So they've decided. Yeah. So what was the question?
Have you discussed just how you're going to deal with that moment, the significance of it for
Zondo
you?
has decided for us. Yeah. Judgment has been passed. The final, they have a final say. So they've decided. So what's there to discuss? Nothing. Except what hit me was the fact that, let me tell you what hit me. I don't know how many times I've responded to the so-called letter of forgiveness. I was not in South Africa. I was in Cuba when the so-called letter, I'm told, the letter was written. And I have given interviews where I said, my lawyer has never seen the letter. I've never seen the letter. And the emphasis of Mr. Zondo yesterday was, it was quite interesting, I must say. It was like a headmaster, you know, in a primary school. He says, Walus wrote me a letter. I ignored the letter. Walus asked for forgiveness, and I refused to forgive him. Guess what, Kathy? I want to tell everybody, it is my right. Nobody's going to forgive me, to force me to forgive Walus. He took my husband away. Why am I being forced to forgive him? If the Constitutional Court wants to forgive him, that's their baby. But I should not be accused. He portrayed me as this woman who is unreasonable. And guess what? Because none of them has experienced what I've experienced, and many other South Africans. So to them, it's theory, it's law books. There are no emotions involved. And I respect that. But it's so sad because, you know, in life, like I'll repeat it, there is karma. Don't ever do something bad to somebody. It's going to come back 100-fold. I don't wish for it. But God works in mysterious ways. Because now there I was, Walus is a victim, I'm this bad woman, Walus is being reasonable, asking for forgiveness, blah, 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 blah. Really? I'm an adult. And I have the right, you know?
Sure.
I have the right to say, Kathy, I will not forgive you. The pain is felt by me, not by the Constitutional Court. Well, they're welcome to judge me. So what?
What do you think the next 10 days are going to be like for you and your family?
I don't care. I've reached a point where I don't care. Yeah. Because I know what I'm dealing with now. You know, when you move into a situation and you are moving into it innocently, it sort of shakes you. It happened yesterday. I reacted, but I'm fine. I don't want to lie. I'm okay. And my children are okay. And the Hani family is okay. It was painful. It was. I don't want to lie. Especially the surprise element. I don't know what the law says. Maybe it says you should just say whatever you have to say. It's okay. I'm fine. I've learned how the Concord works in South Africa. I've learned. I can write a book about it.
All right.
Just for one day hearing. Yeah.
Mam Dimpho, I wish you and your family strength over the next 10 days. It's going to be a difficult period, unquestionably, and I hope that you will be able to get through.
But what I would like to say before you are summarizing now.
Yes.
Okay, before you summarize, I would like to say in 1968, a man called Sehan killed in cold blood Robert F. Kennedy. In 1969, he was sentenced to life. This happened in California. In January this year, now you can imagine from 1969 to 2022, he applied for parole. And he was denied parole by the Californian governor. And I want to quote him. This is what he said. After carefully reviewing the case, including record in the California State Archives, I have determined that Sehan has not developed the accountability and insight required to support his side on the release into the community. All I'm saying is we need political will. That's what lacks in South Africa. In the Jewish people, up to today, they're still pursuing the people who did the Holocaust. What's wrong with me, or is it because I'm not white? What's wrong with me saying this is wrong when it's happening in other countries? I think, and these people who are in power, they travel all over the world. Why can't they learn good things that are being done there? So I just wanted to say it's happening in other countries. This Sehan, from 1969, in January, they still refused him parole. So we lack political will in South Africa.
All right. We'll have to leave it there for tonight.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for making the trip and coming into the studio. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Dimpho Hani there, and yeah, you heard for yourself exactly where she stands in as far as this matter is concerned.